Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Elizabeth George, Director of Member Engagement and Chapter Development with the American Guild of Organists. And I'm very pleased to present our webinar today, A Virtual Choir for All of Us. Before I introduce our presenter, I have just a couple of housekeeping notes. First of all, this is being recorded and it will be uploaded to our website. I'll make sure you all know where to find it. It'll be under the Education tab, and it should be up on the website by next Monday. You are all muted because we have a lot of attendees today, which is really exciting. However, we do want to see your questions about BandLab, primarily BandLab. So what you can do is move your cursor down to the very bottom of the page and you'll see a chat box come up and you will be able to post your questions there. We will probably not be able to address them live. However, during the week, I'm going to be compiling your questions, and if you have additional questions, you can send them to me. So let me tell you a little bit about our presenter today. Carol Spradling is a native of upstate New York, and she began composing and playing music at the age of 2 years old. And her parents' house never got any quieter from that moment on. She completed her undergraduate training at the University of Miami's Cross School of Music. And during her senior year, she ended up moving on into, forgive me for 1 second, I'm gonna have to, Carol, would you be able to tell us a little bit more about your, I'm gonna unmute you and ask you to share a little bit more about your career, because I am missing the second page on this bio, forgive me. Wonderful things happen. Okay.
There we go, the unexpected. Well, the whole point of why I'm with you here today is that my career, which has had, it took me to London and the television industry and church music, and I've been a Broadway pit musician, and I've been on stage. What has set me up more than anything else is that I'm a musical jack of all trades. Having said that, my learning curve when I started creating these virtual choirs in the spring was like this. That was the slope. And hopefully today you will be able to, we'll share some information together so that you'll be able to get started with this virtual choir and your learning curve will be more like this. And if I can do it, you can do it. Does that work? Does that work, Elizabeth? Okay, great. So I'm going to get started with very little in the way of any kind of intro because there is so much to cover. I'm not in my professional space today. We've been by a lake in the Adirondacks, and we had a shift in our family schedule. And when I was going through that in my mind, knowing that I had this to do with you today, I thought, and I went through and I thought, I can do this from anywhere. That's the joy of kind of what we're talking about. So once you go through the little teething pains of getting your setup done for your virtual choir, you too can do it from your kayak. We're gonna start by just kind of 2-second thing about virtual choir. I want to make sure that my understanding when I say the words virtual choir is the same as what you're looking for, the information you want, so that it'll save you the time if this isn't what you're looking for. I'm talking about, when I say virtual choir, I'm talking about a director and individual singers who work collaboratively to create a recording. The director lays down a track. The singers, each from where they are, add their own part. We use a service called BandLab for this. It's audio only. Video adds a whole other level of need in terms of your time, in terms of the computing power needed. Just I haven't gone there, so that's not what I'm talking about. So with the audio, after the singers have added their tracks, the director goes in and does post-production, mixes those down, mixing the individual singers' voices together to create a virtual choir. So that's kind of what we're talking about. I'm going to do a little brief outline of how it works. I do have some like slides and things that I'm going to be jumping around with a little bit today. And then there's vast quantities of handouts that I've got for you guys. And we just kind of go from there. So, the basic outline of how this works, right, is the director lays down a track, singers record into it, and then you've got, your final thing. We're going to look at each one of those components together today, up to but not including post production. So today is about your gear, your setup, getting us into Band Lab, getting started with Band Lab, talking about the anticipated things that your singers are going to have to deal with when they use Band Lab. I've got some, things that I had to, like, questions that I kept getting from my singers, and that hopefully my answers that you share with them will help. Um, let's see, what else today? What did I say? So I said setup, and then I said Band Lab and more about Band Lab. We're going to talk a little bit about recording. We're going to talk about MIDI and what that is and why I'd like you to befriend it. We're going to talk a little bit about places that you can find MIDI resources that don't even involve a keyboard. We're going to talk about keyboards, and then just really a deep dive into Band Lab and at least the initial phase of getting you kind of up and running on Band Lab. All right. Little bit of just kind of like background info on some of this to help make you less crazy than I was when I started. Everybody's set up for this. I mean, when I say everybody, I mean us right now. The singers too, but primarily us. Everybody's setup is different. Your, old clavinova for which you need a particular MIDI cable, but it's a particular one because Yamaha polarities are different, and then that's talking to your MacBook, which talks to, that's going to be different than mine, and because of that, there's just so many variables. We're going to focus on the ones that are like the most constant, which is Band Lab. Even in Band Lab, there's usually like several ways that you can do any particular thing, and no, one of those ways is right or wrong. Everybody's workflow is different, and you'll kind of find, your way to that. Um, Everybody's workflow is different. Elizabeth talked about questions, and as we go through, you can, definitely ask questions in the chat. And then what we're going to get to today for your homework is you're going to be creating your own. We're just going to use a hymn. You're going to go in. You're going to create a background for it. You're going to talk to some friends that you can then you owe them a beer, that you can inveigle to set up, or maybe choir members, if you're seeing them over the summer, have them set up their Band Lab accounts, have them, force them to kind of talk to you about, like, well, wait a minute, what did I do with the thing? And then go in and record and have you, join it all together and just kind of create a track. So that's kind of where we get to, we'll get to today for the homework. I'm seeing some questions in the chat, but Elizabeth just kind of let me know, if that is something I need to know. So I'm going to get started. I've got a slide show thing that I did for when I did this workshop in May for the Vermont chapter, that I've pared down. So I'm going to be kind of jumping around through that. It's available as a handout afterwards. And then I got to open it up here, and I've got an even simpler outline. I'm totally a written down info person. So, and I'm going to share my screen with you in 2 seconds once I kind of bring it up. All right. So first things first, let me share my screen with you. Let's see. Share screen. Who can share? Okay. Elizabeth, just tell me if okay, it says I am screen sharing, so you can all see my little slideshow that starts here. All right. So I'm going to start first with tools and gear and what you need. Okay. This is just the kind of very basic of the basic, basic of the basics. Basic tools that we need. We need a keyboard. We're going to talk a little bit about why my beloved 1926 Steinway with the ivory keys is less useful to me in this environment than this M audio, piece of plastic from, don't know where, but probably not manufactured in the US, than this. My Steinway is less useful to me in virtual choir than this little piece of plastic because of MIDI. You're going to need an interface for older models, and that is something that we'll talk. I'll talk in depth about. You need a computer. You need the software. And then in italics here, these are like things that are optional but highly recommended. Highly recommended that you have a microphone. Always when we say microphone, when we're talking about vocal music, almost always, that means microphone and headphones, because you need to sing while hearing the thing that you're singing along to in order to sync it up. And the hearing thing has to happen without it being able to be heard by the microphone. So microphone and headphones, and it's something you're going to be, it's a question your singers are going to ask 1,000 billion times. So just that's something for us to know. When you say microphone, it means microphone and headphones. And for you, an audio interface, I'll tell you all about it and why they're amazing, and you can get them for $50 on Craigslist. And I recommend after the first few, you're going to want to look at an external digital audio workstation for post-production and mixing. I'll talk to you about what a digital audio workstation is, and so that's kind of what we're talking about for you, for tools. Hopefully that's not much of an investment for you. Maybe for some of you guys who are, I call it old school in terms of, trained organists, but you don't have anything electronic at home. It may be find a keyboard on Craigslist. I'll tell you about how to find MIDI files for free. So those are the tools that we need. And just really, really quick, because I want to get to Band Lab. When I talk about gear, this is kind of how my little framework from, I don't say good and bad because I've taught school for too many years, but here's how I say, at the top we have, you can do this, but please don't, because there's just, you'll frustrate yourself. And then, kind of like basic, but we can probably get you doing better. Intermediate, this is where I live. I don't know why that came up. I live at intermediate almost all the time, and then kind of moving into advanced as you get more familiar with each of these things. All right, so you're going to want a keyboard. Out of the back of the key, so here's the keyboard. Your acoustic piano, no bueno, right? A basic electronic keyboard using a MIDI cable, and MIDI looks like, I'll talk to you about it in a second, using a MIDI cable. A basic keyboard with a MIDI cable coming out of it can go right into your computer. You don't need an interface for that. You would need an interface for an acoustic, like an acoustic, a piano or an organ, but your MIDI can talk right to your computer. And then in terms of like, the better the keyboard, the more elaborate you can get, and you can record your preludes directly into MIDI. And oops, I made a mistake, I hit a wrong note, just go in there and correct the note. It's fantastic. But for virtual choir, that's kind of where we're at with keyboards. MIDI, the cables, you've all seen them. It's the back of the back of the older keyboards had these three, like if you look at the bottom here, through, out, and in, these five prong cable interfaces. Older keyboards have those. And this cable right next to that, that's what you need if you are recording MIDI from one of those older models of computer or of keyboard right into your computer. You need this cable. It's an interface. Most of the newer keyboards, even this cheapo one in the back here of it, it's just got a USB out. So, this is how the MIDI is connected, USB. All right. So I'm going to talk while I'm still, briefly talking about backgrounds here. I'm going to talk about why I want you to start using MIDI. MIDI is, if you think about the best analogy I have for MIDI, I'm sure as musicians you've heard it a billion times. MIDI is not music, it's not sound, it is ba 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 and ba 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 ba. And basically I had heard that and kind of glossed over it until I needed to know. Audio is like writing in penmanship. MIDI is your word processor. It's adaptable and editable, and you can copy paste and do these things with it that you can't do with audio. With singing, we don't have an option. We don't have a MIDI interface into our voices, so it is always OG, old school audio. But for the background stuff, MIDI is your friend, and I'll show you an example in a moment. Just so that you can see right here, this right here, the slide. I want to stop doing that. Okay, there. So this, right here, where it says MIDI versus audio recording, this right here is me having played the same song, and on the top, this is what I, got in my digital audio interface. It looks like this. And down on the bottom, this was the MIDI track. I played it and it showed up. Make that bigger. It showed up. Oh, I can't make it bigger. I'll show you in a moment when I do. I'll show you a hymn. But basically, this audio track, the only thing that I can really do with that is to go in there and try and find. If let's say I played a wrong note, I would have to try and find that wrong note somewhere within this these blobs. Yeah, needle in a haystack. And for MIDI, I can just literally it shows me the score. I pull it up, I change the note in the score, and we're good to go. And for singers, with MIDI, they get the benefit of precision. You have adaptability. You have all these different instruments that you can put into your background. You can add a click track. It's kind of endless stuff that helps them to be able to hear their part. So that is just a little bit about getting started with your part of the background. So I'm going to dive right now into BandLab, and if you've got BandLab, as I hope you all do, I want you to have access to it on the desktop and on your mobile device. And I'm going to talk to you first about the desktop. The desktop is where if you're editing in BandLab, like if you're not going to use GarageBand or any of those external things, you're going to want to use the desktop. So I know that you've all signed up and you've got accounts. Let me just go to where it says feed here. All right, leave site, yes. Okay, once you sign up, you have your account, and this is like your home screen. This is my home screen. Your singers have to be able to find you. This was one of the more, I don't know why, but this was a roadblock for us. The singers have to go in, they have to set up an account, And then you have to be able to connect with them on BandLab. If you think about BandLab like Facebook, and it is a lot like Facebook because it's social media, you got to be able to kind of find each other to send a friend request. So it can either be done with your singers finding you and they reach out to you, which is obviously what you want so that you don't have to do it 25 times. But what I found is no matter how many times I send them emails saying, okay, now after you've set up your account, look for me. I'm the Carol Spradling that has a Bugs Bunny icon. And I would get radio silence. I never heard from them. So that meant I had to go and individually find them. So when I take you through the singer tutorial, I'll just kind of talk about that a little bit. But the singers are going to find you, and then you are going to click on your own icon here. And then underneath where it says, your name, it says view profile, projects, albums, blah, 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 blah. The first thing I want you to do is click on bands. And then you go new band. And now we have you have to write a description. And now you have a little band that you can invite your choir members to. Obviously, the software is called BandLab, so your music group is going to be referred to as a band whenever you use this software. Just something to point out in case your choir members are going, why is it called band? We're a choir. That's why. So now you have a band, and in order to, you go up here to search BandLab, and you look for whoever it is. So I'm going to actually, somebody I'm not connected with on band. Okay, this is a person who took my workshop in the spring. She's a Vermont musician, and she's got a relatively unique name. So let me see if I can find her. Her name is Meg Casaboom, and I go up here to Meg Cas. There she is. So I was able to find her basically because she was smart enough to use her actual own name, and therefore I could, so let's see, if she was my choir member, I could find her, and then I click on her profile, and then I go over here, sorry Meg if you're out there, and then I go over here, and I click right here, and I invite Meg to the band. I am not going to invite her to my fake band. She's a busy enough musician without having to answer fake band invites. But that's kind of like, the basics of how the singers connect with you. Like I said, that was a little bit of a learning curve in itself. So now you are ready to create a project, and if you click on your profile and go down where it says projects, you just go over here where it says new project. Right. So if you are creating your project in BandLab, as opposed to creating it in some other software and bringing that into BandLab, you are going to click over here on Instruments. And your keyboard is connected. Your MIDI keyboard is connected. Now my MIDI keyboard is not connected right now, but let's just pretend that it is, right? So right here, this by the way, this desktop, this is kind of what all DAWs, digital audio workstation, they all look a little bit like this. This is just super, super, super pared down. But over here at the top, it says instrument. So first thing we want to do is let's rename that so that it doesn't get recorded over. So I'm going to rename it bed, which is what I always call my background stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and record in it. Hopefully you guys are following along here. I'm going to go through just really briefly the settings that you're going to want for this, which is, by the way, hint, leave it the way it is. That's really how I do the settings. All of this stuff, if I go here to settings, I don't know what link zoom means. That's shown up since I used BandLab last time. Probably has something to do with Zoom, probably something cool. We can find out later. I don't use the metronome because the problem with the metronome is that the singers can manipulate the metronome. So I create click tracks that are embedded into the accompaniment rather than using this metronome. So leave it off. You don't need metronome settings. This enable multi-track recording. What that means is it's very kind of like a misnomer in my head, because we are doing multi-track recording. Multi-track by definition is, it has tracks. What this means is if you want to have like one microphone right now, if you want to have one microphone here for your guitar and another microphone here for your vocals, you can record them both at the same time. That's what that is. I figured that out not too long ago. And we're not going to talk about our automation recording right now. Just leave it all the way you find it. So you go over here and let's say we're just going to record I'm just going to, record a few notes here. When you click the red record button, you'll get 4 like sync beats, and then you record after that. So it goes like 1, 2, 3, 4, kind of like a count-in bar. And all right, and then we pause it. And as you can see, we have these little, if you look at the track right here, look at these little discrete notes. Bum, 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 bum. Now, if just so that you can see, let me go down here and add a track. And I'm going to say, let me see if this does this, voice microphone. Yeah, why not? Okay, voice microphone. And I'm going to mute this one so it doesn't record together. No, it's not going to do it. Okay, it doesn't give me the same little option. I was going to show you the difference between MIDI and audio in, even as a piano, but it doesn't really matter. You know that you can record keyboards as audio if that is a direction you want to go. And if that is the direction you want to go with it. It's all about what works for you with this. So now we have a background thing, right? That's kind of like, here, I'm going to get rid of this track first. Get rid of it. Okay, so now we have a background. Let's say that this is your audio track for your hymn. If you want to, by the way, make this bigger so you can see more of it, you just go over here and go like this. That just expands it. Doesn't add time to it, it just makes it bigger. So now here's where we're at theoretically when we want the singers to start recording with us. I'm going to just jump over here and MIDI versus audio. This is a handout. You could read it. Basically, MIDI versus audio. It's a little bit more about that. 2-second thing. Another thing that you can do with MIDI, and I do this all the time with traditional hymns, is I find free stuff. I'll go to Choral Wiki or hymnary.com, and you type in the name of, Joyful, Joyful, We Adore Thee, or even type in Joyful, Joyful, and MIDI, that's your search term. Joyful, Joyful, We Adore Thee, MIDI, and up will pop existing MIDI files free because it's public domain, and you can pick and choose, and you can import those MIDI files directly into BandLab. And there's another way of having a background thing that you didn't play a note on your computer, or on your keyboard rather. All right, so recording software. For you, see where I'm at. Yeah, recording software for you. Just a basic thing. The only thing that I would say don't do is old, out of date software or your phone's voice memos. Basic but fine. I said BandLab for production. What that means is you're probably pretty quickly going to outgrow BandLab for your music creation purposes, as opposed to a band lab as the thing that you let the singer sing to. So for pre-production and post-production, it's just pretty limited. But it'll get the job done right out of the box, and it's free. So that's what we're starting with, today. As you move up from Band Lab, intermediate stuff would be like GarageBand, super kind of consumer level. There's some other free stuff. I'm a Mac user. There's other free software. You can explore them. They're called digital audio workstations, DAW, digital audio workstation. So when you're looking for a free DAW, that's the term you're going to use. And then moving up to advanced, which for me took about from GarageBand, which I had on my Mac, to buying Logic Pro, I think took 3 weeks before I outgrew GarageBand and just went, all right, I want to be able to do more. And I spent, I think it was $200, and I now have Logic Pro, which is one of the industry standards. And the stuff that it's been able to allow me to do in pre-production, meaning like what I do just for my own musicianship, adding a clarinet part, making sure there's a click track, and post-production, which is syncing and audio mastering, vocal mastering and all that stuff. Having this tool has made me a better musician. And at 52, those learning, I don't often say that made me a far better musician, but having this software did. Okay, so that covered software. I want to get into the singers and what they do. So I have a tutorial for the singers, and one of my choir members created a tutorial as well. Mine looks like this. If you can see my screen, see interface comparison. Mine looks like this, and it's colorful, and Doug, he's an engineer, so his is more like it's much more like a technical user manual. But I will make both of them available for you, and you can make them available for your singers. And depending on their learning styles, hopefully they'll get something out of one or both of them. But here's what BandLab looks like as an interface comparison on the desktop versus mobile versus I have it on my iPad. The desktop is far and away where you're going to want to live when you do stuff, because look at that mobile. I mean, maybe for some of you younger people that are used to the tiny screens, but the desktop also allows you to, it's got more features and tools than the mobile thing does. So, but here's the thing, for your singers, the mobile is the way to go, because they don't need to go out and get a digital audio interface. Mobile, you put the phone in front of you, as long as you got earphones, and it works right out of the gate. So that's one great thing about it. All of the phones have pretty decent microphones just built right in there, and particularly with folks who are like not, the less techy your singer, the more you're going to want to say, okay, the answer to your question, Joyce, is download the app, find me on the app, find the project, and then sing into your phone's microphone, as opposed to trying to talk to them about as other setups, like having an external microphone talking to a computer. That's just a little bit more of a complicated setup. The singers, their setup, I kind of wrote out a little thing about it, and it's very, very, very granular, as in like it goes, get started by downloading the app. And here's how you sign up. And there's little arrows for each of these screens, because what I found, especially during the coronavirus, is there were a couple of my my older choir members who basically were asking these kinds of questions that were so physically, like they were physically about how BandLab is mapped on the screen, and I just desperately wanted to like drive over to their house and go, okay, no, give me your phone. See, it's right here. But I couldn't, because of the coronavirus, so I created this for them. And you will have it, this little mini tutorial, how to sign up. After you sign up, you go to this, place, And then you go over here and you know, connect with me, the director, and then open a song, and then open this, that, and the other thing, and then you start recording. Um, and it even, like, I had one singer who, if she made a mistake, she was just stopping and starting all over again because she didn't know where the, you know, where the pause button was. And the answer is there isn't a pause button. You just press record again. And it's that kind of like, it's that deep a dive that you kind of need to do into the mobile app yourself to kind of like prepare for the questions that you're going to get. Let me switch back over to our little project here. Okay, so here we are in your desktop, and you've got your new project, and I'm calling this the AGO Shuffle, and I'm going to invite my singers to add to add to it. So the first thing I need to do here, after I've got my thing laid down, save it. If you press exit, by the way, you'll get prompted to save. So there we are, and now you are in this little, you know, this is the page for the project. And when you go, I'm gonna first talk about how to share it with your singers, and then I'm gonna talk about what that mix editor looks like. And right here where it says processing in progress, if it's taking too long, blah, 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 depending on your computer's processing speed, you may have, you know, more or less of those. Pardon me for 2 seconds while I find my adapter. So I don't lose you guys. Okay. Hopefully you can all see. Now I've created my little project, and here's where it's, you know, it says AGO Shuffle. Now go down here to this area, and you see those 3 little dots. BandLab uses the 3 dots a lot, and that's your expanded menu options. So we click there, and right down here it's got an option, move to band. So right now, I, as a user, as a director, I've created this thing, but it's not shared with anybody yet. I have to do this. It says move to band. Musical group. No, I don't know why Wikipedia is talking to me here. Go away. Okay. Move project, AGO Shuffle, and then I select band. Over here, confirm, and then you get this little prompt here. This is, you know, you won't be able to undo this action. Okay, we're fine. Move, and now it is shared with whatever singers are in the band that you created. They will get notified that you have created this project and that it's there and ready for them to add their voices to. They will get a notification. Having said that, you probably know who your choir members are who, you know, would not be as tuned into whether they're getting notifications or not. And you probably want to just send out an email. Hey guys, it's up on BandLab now. So the singers go in and they open it. Okay, that won't go away. Go away. Go away. This would be a great time for go to your mobile device. All right. I want you to take a look at the mobile device that your singers are going to be looking at. All right. I actually have my iPad, but they're very similar. So the singers have this like blank page, and they go down and they, you know, they find the project. They'll also have a link that's been sent to them, you know, by it. And so I'm going to go to my projects, home. I almost never use the mobile interface, so it's always good for me to have a refresher course in what my singers are looking at, because it is different. and some of it is, just not very intuitive. Okay, so like here's, for example, at the bottom of the page to find the projects, you'd think that they go to the big friendly red button in the middle, but no, it is the one that looks like a file on the bottom right. So if they click that, then that brings them to a list of whatever projects are available for them, and then they go in. So it comes to this screen, and it's got this little box at the bottom, and it's got a friendly red button. This time they press the friendly red button, and it says open. Now they've got two options: video mix, which is a cool thing that I've never used because, again, video, not yet, and mix editor. That's what you want, is mix editor. So we open it in mix editor. Okay. I need to do it with a slightly different one because it is, there we go. Let's try this one. Try that one, mix editor. Come on. Okay, this is my iPad, like I said, so this is a bigger screen, but this is what you come to. So again, the desktop looked like this. Okay. Projects. Find it, new project. Okay. The desktop basically looks like this. And the all right, sorry. I hit the wrong button when I was showing you guys the thing. Okay, so this is what the singers are seeing here for the different. The singers, we want them to, first thing they do is click that plus button. It's kind of, it's in different places on different screens, I've noticed, Android versus whatever. Click the plus button, and then they have the options of what they're going to, and they're going to go voice mic, and hopefully we can teach them how to rename the track so that, Denise's vocal part can be called Denise. But at first, honestly, I just wanted them recording, so I kept an eye on who was singing what, and I would rename the tracks and, and do all of that. All right, so they record by, clicking the, let's see, it's here. They record by clicking this little record button at the bottom of the page. There's an accompaniment playing. They sing along, wearing their headphones. They stop. And then once they have done that, they click exit up here at the very top. And again, this was one of those things where you and I probably know what an exit button looks like, but I had to tell at least one person it's up at the very top and it looks like a little door. You click that button, you get a save prompt. Yes, I want to save it. Now we have a vocal track. We have a piano track, we have a vocal track, right? And that is kind of where we, are going to get to today. I just want to round this out a little bit. Talk a little bit about, I want to show you a MIDI file that I did. And this just might be one moment for me to pause. Elizabeth, do we have any questions for today? Like now questions?
We do. We do indeed.
Okay.
First of all, yes, we're going to set this. We're going to give you handouts and slides after this, not to worry. Someone said it's not available for Mac, but it is because you were using a Mac today, were you not?
Yeah, I saw that question right here from Kathy Marker. Kathy's asking, she said, I'm on a Mac. How do I get it on Windows? So it is not a download, folks. It is a website. It's a download for your mobile device in the App Store. But for Windows or Mac, you open up a browser, open up Chrome, whatever browser you use, and you go to www.bandlab.com. Yes, it's a .com, and just go from there. Other ones.
If I recorded an accompaniment track that's on iMove, can I use that?
Let's see what on iMovie. Is that what it was?
Yes, iMovie. If I've recorded a track on iMovie, can I use that?
Yeah, all you have to do is save that track as any kind of common audio file. So MP3 or WAV or AIF or any of those. Save it as an audio file, and then over here in BandLab, you can. And let me show how to do that. Choose this. Am I screen sharing right now, Elizabeth?
No, you're not.
Okay, let me show you how to do that then. Go over and zoom. Whoops. Great. This is actually exactly where I want to go next. So rather than setting this up as a new project, because you guys all know how to set up a project now, here I am in an existing project, right? And I go over here and I say add track, and it asks me what kind of track I want to do, and right here it says import audio or MIDI, so I'm going to click that, and now it says, oh, okay, what file do you want to do? So I actually am going to go over here and go to I'm going to bring up a MIDI file that I actually have. This is a MIDI file that I just found in the middle of nowhere. Let's see. No, it's not. All right. I'm not going to do it that way, but it will right there allow you to basically, sorry, to finish my sentence. We clicked import audio or MIDI, and then it just kind of like find it on your device, and you tell it which one is going to go in there. And all right, here's one that says Alto 1. I have no idea what it is. Unable to import file due to something something something. All right, then I would choose a different choose a different one. And right here, if you look where I'm like looping, it says drop a loop or an audio MIDI file. This is the another way you can do it. So just pull up your Finder or your I can't remember what Windows calls it, and I'm going to go over here. What's that?
Search key.
Yeah, or whatever the files. Find your files, and I go over here and I say, okay, here's an MP3, and I drop this MP3. Now, one thing to do is let me drop it. Okay, look what happened. It's in there, but visually, it's not at the beginning. Yeah. So the way to move it is just press down on it and hold that, like left long press or whatever, and then move it with your mouse. And just move it over to the beginning. All right. Other questions for right now?
Let me take a look here. Someone had asked about Audacity. Can they use
Audacity? Yep. Audacity is a wonderful free partial desktop audio workstation, and it is particularly fantastic for your post-production for vocals. It does not have MIDI capability, so you would want something else for creating your MIDI files for your accompaniment. But for I use my partner uses Audacity all the time for tightening up sync, like, which I'll talk about next week. So if you have a bunch of you have a bunch of people singing their hymn and all of the S's are and you're a perfectionist like me and you want to make the S's line up, that's audio editing, and Audacity is great for that particular kind of thing.
Carol, there was another question. What is the average time spent per voice or singer on editing the final project?
Per voice?
Yes.
Okay. Average time per voice. That is great. I I don't really have a set answer to that because my workflow is going to be different than yours. I will say this: big picture, overarching picture. Allow imperfections. Allow things to sound a little bit like hot garbage at the beginning, knowing that hot garbage is better than nothing. You don't even have to put it out for worship if you're that bothered about it, but you've got to take your perfection. This is what I found as a live musician who had done very comparatively little in the recorded world. I'm primarily a live performer. Is that I went a little obsessively perfect crazy when I started doing recordings, because it's like when we hear the sound of our own voices and we're like, ew, I don't like how I sound. I started going nuts with trying to make it, better and better and better. And I burned myself out. Oh, I also should mention that I started this Holy Week. So, but I kind of burned myself out. So in terms of the voices, all you need to be able to do is to get them to sing the right thing at the right time. And how you do that is with your backing, with your backing track. So I want to talk to you a little bit about microphones and digital and audio interfaces and how that works with this. One of the ways that I get this better is to record my own vocal parts as part of the background bed. So the bed is not just the accompaniment, it's the accompaniment plus the vocal parts, and sometimes I'll put the sopranos and altos in the left ear and the tenors and basses in the right ear. There's a click track, which is different than the metronome here, because the metronome here can be changed. The click track is audio, and it's part of what I create for the accompaniment. And the clearer that is, the better your vocal results will be from the singers, in terms of sync, in terms of them knowing where their entrances are. So just to give you an example of the anatomy, let me actually bring up a slide so you know how deep I dive with that. Let's see, did I write it? It might be up here. Anatomy of the bed. And if not, I'll just kind of talk to you about it. Get this, Okay, choir, 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 software, software. Yep, I can't find it. Okay, so your bed, which is what they sing to. The bed consists of everything you want them to hear to get a great result from them, knowing that you're not in front of them to direct. And I also have created video files of me directing. The only problem is that they don't know how to sync them. So on the beds that I produce, let me show you one. Let me pull up. Okay, this one. This is where I get to for pre and post production. Everything above the purple ones is part of pre-production. This is the bed. I found a MIDI file on the internet. Come thou fount of every blessing. It was not particularly brilliant, but it was correct. And then I went through and I pulled it around and I changed the tempo and I twiddled with it until I ended up with a chamber ensemble with organ. And I add click track to that, and I put the click in here so you guys can hear what that all sounds like. Let's see, Beats a Project. No, 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 that's the wrong place. There we go. Click. Is that on or off? Click. Okay. So let me mute these guys. Mute, 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 mute. Okay. So this is what they are hearing with the click. Because that's a hymn, I may or may not actually sing the vocal parts for them to then record along to. Sometimes most of the time I do, because I want them to know where to put the T and where to put the S with a hymn, like this. This one wasn't a choral one, but that one I didn't. And that's where, but all of this beautiful stuff that I'm with the pretty colors right here, that is MIDI. If I had just recorded that on my keyboard, I would never have been able to get to where I got with this at all. It would take a lot. In other words, let me say that slower and better. If I wanted to create what I'm looking at right here using just my keyboard without MIDI, I could do it, but it would take far longer and it would have a lot less flexibility. Would it sound better in terms of if you're what I call, and I say it lovingly because I'm one of them, if you're a piano snob, does it really sound as good as your Steinway? I don't know. That some of these voices are pretty darn good, and I kind of don't mind at this point because I had to because it's not a recital. I'm not playing on a concert stage. I want it to be clear. I want the singers to be able to understand it, and it sounds decent enough in the mix. Yeah. Next question.
I think we've pretty much. Oh, where do we download BandLab for Windows 10? I think you just go to their website, right?
You don't download it. You go to exactly. You go to www.bandlab.com, and it's through your Internet Explorer or whatever you use, and there you are. So what I would like you guys to do for next week is to create a virtual thing of your own, a virtual choir recording. I want to start simple. Let me come out of screen sharing here. Stop sharing. Okay. There we go. There's me. So I want to start simple. Let's do a hymn. Okay. Pick a hymn that you enjoy working with and you know really well. That's one of the secrets of doing this and having it work is when you are in charge of picking the music, like an anthem, pick something that they know backwards and forwards and that they like. I found out the hard way that right now, during the coronavirus is not the time to introduce new music, at least not to my choir. We've done stuff that they know really well. Pick something that you like, pick a hymn that you like, and have at it. Record it into BandLab. Get a couple of friends that you can persuade to add vocal parts. See where the rocks in the road are. Have patience with yourself. Encourage the singers to show themselves kindness. We all hate the sound of our voice when we hear it for the first time. I don't think there's a human being who doesn't feel that way. Let them feel vulnerable. Just remember, these folks are not soloists, right? They're in the choir. So they're not, some of them are soloists, I get that, but they aren't usually there singing their part by themselves every time the hymn comes up. So allow all of that vulnerability and build that in. We can talk more about it next week. And the other thing about it is when you have a question about any of this, because everybody's workflow is different, everybody's setup is different, the first, second, and third places to look are Google and YouTube. There are 100,000 amazing YouTube videos out there for every technical problem that you can have with recording and with MIDI every single one of them is out there answered by people that are younger and smarter than most of us, and they've got all the answers and they put these together. And actually, in one case, there's this lovely British lady. I think she's from Birmingham, and she's just a piano teacher, and she's got this great series on creating audio, in creating recordings. So that's kind of where I went. And coming back to the thing about how long is it going to take, what I found is it's a huge, what they call a bolus effect. It's massive at the beginning to get it started, because your standards are going to come into play. You're not going to want to just allow it to be kind of messy around the edges. So you're going to fiddle, and you're going to go into rabbit holes. You're going to deep dive. You're going to be like, how do I get it to sound better? And just kind of give yourself the patience to get that up and off the ground and running. And then after that, it kind of starts to just, ride the waves a little bit.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Carol. And I promise I found the second page of your bio. So
Well.
next week, because this lady has just had an amazing career, and I'm excited. I think I'm going to have to download BandLab and play with it a little bit this week. So I want to thank you all for getting us started. So we have some homework to do. We're going to have a handout that we can upload with this video. Yes, the slides. Do you want to do that?
I can, yeah.
Okay, if you can send those to me, we can have that with this first video uploaded. We'll upload it on our website. Probably by Monday it'll be up there.
Yeah.
And we will see you all next Thursday on the 20th at 4 o'clock. And in between now and then, Carol wants to say something, but I was just going to say, you can always email me with any questions you have, elizabeth.george@agohq.org.
What I wanted to say, Elizabeth, with your permission, I want to hang out for just a minute, and if people need to go, they go, and just make sure that there's a couple questions here that I can answer that I think would be like for this coming week. So let me just do that. So somebody's asking about the websites that will have the downloads. That's a you question. Like where do they go to get these downloads?
Oh yeah, that's www.agohq.org. That's our home website.
And we can email them, right? We're emailing them.
Yeah, I'll email everybody the link.
Okay. Question about video production. As I said, this is not going to go to video. I don't do video, or I don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the software, and for my computer, for my choir, we stick with audio. Let's see. We'll get to the link to the handouts, the website, link to the website, email the handouts. You guys are welcome. Let's see. You're welcome. You're welcome. Oh, variations in tempo. That's the one I wanted to say. Variations in tempo. I do a couple different things. I do a Zoom rehearsal. There's lots of ways, there's lots of resources out there that can teach you about that. But then I also, if it's something like a big, retardando into the, to use one of these where you'd be going like this and then resetting the tempo and in, I talk on the bed. I'll actually say, like, because we're coming out of the click, here we come, ready, hold, and release. And I'll breathe into it. I'll actually do that right there at that moment, because again, this is a background. This is a background that's for them as opposed to in the final recording. Let's see.
So it's almost like when you put your markings on a choral piece of paper if you were sitting in a rehearsal at church. That's amazing.
Yeah, I do. I kind of talk at them. Let's see, that's variation 10 tempo. BandLab Assistant is useless then. I've never used BandLab Assistant. So that's just something that people can look into and share out. I have a Facebook group, by the way, that just for this very thing that people can join just for sharing, like, oh, I found this cool way to do things. How do you do the click track? That I will talk about next week. I'm sorry, it's a little bit more of an advanced thing, but Google it. How do you do the click track? I will say that I haven't done the click track directly into BandLab, so it's probably more of a don't even worry about it at first. At first, learn how to do the recording, and then as you move into like I said, the next steps is probably GarageBand as opposed to just doing everything in BandLab. And in GarageBand, it's super easy. You add a little drum part. Let's see, that's click track. I can, you can create your band. Yes, you can create your stuff in your notation software, right? Because that is also MIDI. Then you save it out as a MIDI. And it can just stop right there. Can stop right there, MIDI into BandLab, or MIDI into your desktop DAW into BandLab. And then somebody saying I don't get the preference for MIDI accompaniment. I can use the metronome. Remember when I said everybody's workflow is different? You do what works for you. Let's see, the next one. Let's see, singers yes, they can use the same device to both listen and record. They just need headphones. And FYI, as we know, iPhone has stopped putting headphone jacks in their iPhones, so it's a whole thing that you have to they make an adapter or use a different device for that. It's part of the learning curve. Let's see, GarageBand. Yep, GarageBand, by the way, is absolutely the perfect next step from just doing everything in BandLab. GarageBand is super user-friendly. You can learn a lot from it. It's super versatile. Let's see, BandLab won't work on a Safari on a Mac. It says you have to have Chrome. Good to know. Good to know if it won't work on Safari. I did not realize that. I don't use Safari. It's only available on Chrome, not Safari. Yep, okay, great. Not Safari. All right, so now we know it doesn't work on Safari. You have to download Chrome, which I use anyway.
Are you going to cover any video production next week, or is it just
no?
Okay.
I said that at the top to hopefully not waste people's time. Virtual choir for the rest of us, for me, starts with audio. Then we can all, that video is a sort of a next level thing. The amount of computer time and bandwidth that you need to edit video, and the amount of time. I was part of a giant virtual video choir, and it took a team of people and teams of computers to do the video. I mean, it was 350 people, but yeah. Let's see, average time.
Here's a good one. Can we see the final result of any piece of your choice? Maybe next week? Is that something we could do?
See the final result? Yeah, here. Here's what it looks like, a final result. And the sound, let me find one. I have it pulled up. This was right at the beginning. I want you to know what it sounded like at the beginning. Like, it was one of the first, oh, come on. All right, here we go. This was Holy Week, so it was right out of the gate. All of that is MIDI. Again, it was first week.
Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus, remember me when you come Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus, remember me.
I'm going to just stop it. I'm going to stop it. That was the first week out. So there were sync issues that I would have, that I didn't take care of that that I would now. But that's kind of like I said, it's messy. But my congregation went crazy for it.
How many singers were there?
That was 12.
I thought it sounded wonderful. For
Thank you.
first try?
Yeah, it was. It was the first one I did.
Yeah, my goodness.
And I think that kind of gets us there. So, yeah. Let's just see if there's anything else. Okay, Safari. Let's see.
I think.
Guys, Google ClickTrack. Google how to do it. I've never done it in BandLab. Oh, no, I do. I know, I have an idea. You create a drum part, but I've just never done it right in BandLab. But that's something I'll try this week. That can be my learning curve. All right, awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you, everyone. And we'll get this uploaded as soon as possible. And everybody have a wonderful evening.